This time on the Brunswick Buzz, we're going to be talking about Brunswick High School's career exploration and extended learning opportunities. We have 3 students, and we have Mr. Rick Wilson, our teacher, and we're going to hear from each of them to talk about their projects, their learning that they're experiencing. But first, we'll kick off with Mr. Wilson. Rick, thanks for coming today, and we'll introduce our students as we go around, but we'll start off with you first.
Great. Thanks for having us, and we really appreciate the opportunity to tell the story. These students, which I think are reflected by many other students, I am the career exploration and extended learning coordinator at the high school. I work with Molly Myers, who is also involved equally with our endeavors. Do we want to go around and introduce the students, or do you want me to start?
Yeah, let's do that. It's
Okay.
a conversation, so why don't you kick us off?
I'm Jonas McGrath, and I worked on a green crab extended learning opportunity.
My name is Garrett Countway. I worked on the same green crab ELO as Jonas did.
And I'm Maddie Chaput, and I went for the career exploration path, and I've been doing engineering, shadowing, and internships.
Cool. Jonas, what grade are you?
I'm a senior, so 12th
Senior.
grade.
Garrett?
I'm also a senior.
And I'm also a senior.
So we got 3 seniors.
So
Nice.
why don't we kick off with defining what an ELO is. An ELO is a 4-credit experience that could be for either core or elective credit outside of the traditional classroom, usually designed by students in partnership with Molly or I, and involves research, reflection, presentation at the end. This is a program that developed, kind of matured out of the community service policy, which was established in 1994, and I'm going to tell a quick 6 degree of separation story. Robin McCullough was a school board member back in 1994 who was the architect of the community service policy, because the high school was being moved from McKean Street out here, and they were very worried about losing that community connection. At that time, it existed of 20 hours just dedicated to seniors, and the point I'd like to make, besides the 6 degree of separation, is that the program's evolved for the last, 30 years, basically, to having 30 hours instead of 20. We've expanded this to 8th grade through seniors, in terms of that's the time that you could earn, your community service credits. And we've leveraged those relationships through community service to kind of include real-world application. This was a service learning program a decade ago that's morphed into this thing called extended learning. There are a lot of similarities. There's nothing new. John Dewey talked about this in the early 20th century, connecting experience with, being the best teacher out there. So that's what we're trying to do. And the 6th degree of separation comes from Robin unfortunately passed away at a young age. Her granddaughter, that she never had a chance to meet as a junior, is taking an ELO next semester.
That's really cool.
So this is like a really interesting full circle story, just to kind of illustrate that we've evolved from community service to this, extended learning model, which is one part of what Molly and I do. It's not the entire thing, but I thought I'd share that story because I was a huge fan of Robin McCullough in 1994, and to have the ability to work with her granddaughter that she didn't even know is really touching.
Yeah, that's beautiful. The other thing I think, and I've noticed with the podcast, they always want to hear from the students. We'll get to you guys, but briefly, we should just talk about the grant, because that has allowed us the opportunity to have Miss Myers and Molly
Sure.
Myers. You want to just talk briefly about that, and then we'll get into
Yeah, I've had the good fortune over the last couple of years to work for the Department of Education, managing a $5.6 million grant that has looked to expand programs like we have at Brunswick across the state. And Andrew Lardy, who was the person that kind of took over while I was at the state, did an awesome job writing the grant and working in this position that we've been enjoying with the marvelous Miss Molly Myers.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for bringing up Andrew. That'd be remiss if we didn't do that.
That's right.
And then just to say this again, thank you, Rick, because you've done this for a long time. You and Molly have worked really well together, and that's impressive. It doesn't always happen.
A fast friend, and I
Yeah.
think anybody can
Yeah.
attest. It's been in room 203. We absolutely have the best vibe. It's fun.
Plenty of candy.
And
That's good. There you go.
Yeah, right.
Nice.
So
Awesome. All right, so anything you want to introduce? Do you want me to just go to the students and kind of
Well, I mean, I think what Garrett and Jonas represent is a teacher-generated ELO, which is some place that we would like to kind of put some more effort at making folks understand that, the faculty can be involved with these extended learning opportunities in helping organize and conduct them.
Jonas, we'll start with you. Yeah, just talk to us about, how you got involved, what made you want to do it. Just kind of tell your story. And it's a conversation. So.
Yeah. So our teacher, Mr. McCullough, who was our biology teacher in 10th grade, and then we have him this year again for marine biology, just approached us one day and asked us if we were interested in partaking in like an ELO, sort of. I think it was actually through an email.
Okay.
And it sounded like fun. I mean, I've always seen, people clamming or crabbing all around.
Yeah,
And, we were taking marine biology. I don't know about you, but this sort of interested me, grabbed my attention, and I was not doing anything during after school.
Yep.
So we just decided to go for it, and I think not even a week later we were on the mud flats. So
Outside doing it.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit more, either one of you, Garrett or Jonas, either one of you, talk about what is it that you're doing? So when you're out there, you're out doing a green crab project. What is it that you're doing?
Yeah, so as we all know, the ecosystem and that just surrounds Maine is a big part of our economy and culture. So that's what kind of brought me towards it. And so when we're out on the mud flats, we're setting traps for green crabs and invasive species and different types of substrates.
Yeah.
So we have some that are set in some eelgrass, some that are set in some deep mud,
Wow.
and then some that are set in a river upstream. And so we're just trying to find the highest concentration of crabs, where they generally congregate, where they're the most dense, and just try to apply some reasoning to that data to see if we can,
Why they're at a certain place, or why they're more in a certain.
Right.
Is that what you mean by that? Yeah. Okay. All right. How often do you guys do this?
A couple days a week.
Yep.
After school usually, or we both have a period for study hall that we can leave
Okay.
early for.
Okay.
So we'll
And
just
do you
go.
trap them? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah.
And then what do you do with them?
So after they're trapped.
There's a smile over there.
Yeah.
All right. That's a story.
After they're trapped, we collect them in big plastic bags and actually bring them back to the school and throw them in a deep freezer.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Really? And what do they? Do we know where they go after the deep freezer?
Yeah. So after that, once
You
that
may
our
be editing
project's-
this out, by the way. But keep
now that
going.
the project's all done, we'll be going back to analyze, their gender,
Okay.
to see, which ones are more prevalent in certain areas,
Okay.
and try to apply a reasoning to that data to see why these crabs are so invasive in our
Wow.
ecosystems.
This is something that's been carried on by Mr. McCullough, who I must add is a former student of mine
Oh, I didn't know
back in the
that.
day. But it's an ongoing study to basically monitor, has there been an increase in green crab infestation? Because green crabs prey upon soft-shell clams. And what's great about what they're doing, they're working side by side with the harvesters down there at McQuaid Bay. My son did it when he was here at Brunswick High School, and I need to put a plug in for the shellfish harvesting, the student shellfish harvesting program that we have. Are either one of you part of that? You may want to consider getting a permit.
Yeah.
It's a student license. We have 15,
wow.
15 students at Brunswick. It's the strongest. I don't think there's a program that's stronger than what we've created here regarding students being able to dig
did not know that.
and make money.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. So we
Yeah.
have 15 students that currently do that. In the high
Correct. There's a
school.
lottery.
Oh, there is.
Each year there's a lottery because these are very coveted permits
Yeah, I bet they are.
to
Financially,
to have.
right? Yeah.
Correct.
Wow. I did not know that. That might be another podcast.
So
in the future.
I'll expect to see you guys getting a permit application,
Yeah.
and you too, Maddie, because some of the best diggers
Maybe.
we've had in this school have been females.
Wow. That's really cool. So we'll get to you, Maddie, but I want to hear what's been the most challenging? What's the most challenging? Start with the challenge.
Yeah, I'd probably say the first day out on the mud.
Oh, really?
Learning how to walk in the boots. I don't think we ever actually learned how to put them on correctly entirely, but
Yeah.
yeah, just wearing. I remember just holding each boot with both of my hands, like pulling it up to make sure it doesn't get stuck in the mud, and take a dive. But yeah, definitely just walking around on the first day. Also, I'm sure for you, grabbing all the crabs out of the trap was a challenge the first time. So.
Yeah, he made me do all the hard work.
Nice, nice.
Grab the crabs. He was just holding the bag open. Another challenging thing, is just finding the right time to harvest them, because our study halls and the time we had for it didn't always match up with the tides.
That's true.
So we couldn't,
right?
We couldn't go out there and dig it.
Wow. Is it a highlight? I mean, I love being outdoors, right? Are you outdoor kind of people?
Yeah.
You enjoy this, so being out there, learning with your hands, doing that?
I'm definitely interested in maybe pursuing something in science, so it was nice to have an opportunity, to explore some field research beyond just the classroom.
Other things that been, exciting about it, or fun, or weird, or strange?
I don't know. It's just been a really fun experience overall, just to do this with Garrett, because I don't know, it's not something you typically imagine doing for a school, and I'm super glad that the opportunity presented itself to us. So.
Rick, is there a requirement? So they're doing this, they're doing the hours, but are there specific requirements that our listeners would want to know, like what students have to do as part of
Yes,
this?
actually, we worked on a template, an ELO template that kind of outlines learning objectives, key questions, and how's this all going to be tied together in a presentation or report of some sort. And they're working with Mr. McCullough on that.
Are you looking post-secondary after high school?
I'm looking for a 4-year college, and I think I am actually going to go into a scientific field, whether that be marine biology or something else. I'm not sure yet, but
Nice, and you said you were as well, Garrett.
Yeah, something pretty similar to that.
Okay, nice. We're going to pivot over here to Maddie. So Maddie, let's talk about your project. I don't know anything about it, so bring us up to speed and walk us through and how you decided to do it.
Yeah, so mine's definitely on the other end of the extended learning opportunity, because mine is more career exploration, because I'm going to different workplaces and asking a bunch of questions, looking at their day-to-day life in civil engineering. I've now visited 3 different places. I've actually got to go on the Topsom Bridge site where they're building the Green Bridge right now.
That's really cool.
And I got to use the cameras and go underwater and take some surveys of the different rocks that
so
they're dealing with.
So before we get too far, you're doing civil engineering,
Civil and environmental engineering.
Civil and environmental. Okay, cool. That sounds like incredible. Let's get to that. But how did you pick that?
So I've always been like a STEM-based learner. I love visuals, and I've always been math and science. That's always been my strong suits. So I've taken a couple surveys that you see on social media, what you want to do in the future. And it always kind of came up with engineering, chemical engineering, civil engineering, different fields of engineering. And I was kind of I took AP Environmental my junior year and absolutely loved it. Miss Hopkins made it such a fun experience for me, and that was, I guess, something that I wanted to look into, and engineering presented itself, and I was like, why not push the two together? So it worked out, and there's a couple environmental and civil engineering firms around Brunswick, Topsom, Bath area, and that's what I've been able to do.
How did you network that? How did you, how would that, I've got so many questions. Yours is cool, you guys, but this is really intriguing to me. One, because you're doing the career exploration. Anyway, so how did you network? How did that work out? You were I'm thinking engineering. How did you get there?
So if we want to talk about how I got interested in engineering, that's it's kind of what I wanted, because I want to be able to make things. I want to be able to design things. I like calculations and how they all fit into different visuals is a big thing for me. And being an environmental engineer, designer, the CAD design and different websites and different programs that they use have always intrigued me. So that was something.
All right, so that's how you got started. But how did you? So then, when you decided to do these career exploration, how did you pick your, the companies or the organizations that you went to go visit? How did that work?
I did a little bit of research about what's in the area in civil, and then surveying, because there isn't as many firms. Wright-Pierce is actually where I've been going most frequently. I've been there a dozen times and I just keep going back and learning the different aspects and all the different people that they have there, because there's a whole bunch of different concentrations that each engineer has, whether that's CAD design, surveying, There's like entry level engineers that I've talked to who are UMaine graduates of 2020, so they're really close to my age, and I almost like can say that like I've become friends with them, which is really nice.
Yeah, cool.
And I've had people come up from the different locations of Wright-Pierce, which they go all the way down to Florida, and I've had people from Rhode Island drive up and come and meet with me because there was something that I was interested in. And Chris Dwinell was one of my dad's friends in high school, and he is the project manager at Wright-Pierce and was able to lead me through a bunch of different like interviews with the people, and I was able to learn a lot through now I think 9 different people I've met with, which has been really nice.
That's incredible. What
So-
yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, the agency that Maddie brings to her work is really remarkable. Her ability to send great emails. On the
Yes.
surface, the initial contacts began with recommendations from Molly and I.
Okay.
That's our job. To
Yep,
like,
yep.
you know,
That's
give
what I
them
was
the
getting
warm,
at, right.
give them the warm introduction to Chris, who I've worked with before, and Kevin at Sitelines. And Maddie walked through that door. Next thing you know, I get an email from Chris going, "Is that the same Chaput that graduated from Morris High School?" And Maddie was just kind of like shaking her head, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how it works, and that's a great lesson to students.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
these guys going to meet folks down at the waterfront that maybe they'll see for the rest of their life. And Maddie's she's meeting people right now that she may know for the rest of her life. And it's important to help them develop their network. It's one of the greatest parts of the job.
Yeah, that's awesome. One of the things I heard last month when we spoke to our junior high students that were doing the community volunteerism and experiences, they talked about that initial email reaching out or the initial phone call. And, you know, 8th grade, pretty nervous to do that, but actually all 3 of them were like, that was really exciting, and what they learned how to do that. So that's cool. That's what that you're talking about doing.
Molly loves my email writing
Do you?
capabilities. She flaunts that so much.
That's awesome. I mean, that's a skill, and it's to get your foot in the door, all the things, right? All those things, but that really helps. So, okay, so you've been to a bunch of different businesses, local businesses.
3.
3. You've been to 3. And how often do you go? And do you do it during the day, after school? I know there's a lot of questions.
So it's during my period 2,
Okay.
which is 9:15 to around 10:30 for me. So I skip out on flex just so I can maximize my time that I have at wherever place I'm going. Wright-Pierce has been the big hitter for me. I'm so grateful that they've let me come back so many times, and all the people that I've met with. Like I said, I've been there about a dozen times. I've been to Sitelines one time, and I was just there for a couple hours, asked a bunch of questions, and I got to see more of the surveying side of engineering and less of the design and more of like the hands-on stuff, which was really nice to see. And then Read and Read, which is actually a construction business, was the one that was working on the Topsom Bridge, and I was able to go with one of their biologists and go underwater, and that's where I was able to do some, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just
That
to
sounds
back up,
cool.
that came from picking up a business card at the West Bath Construction Days
Yeah.
event that Molly and I took some students to.
Yeah,
So it's just this constant networking.
Networking,
And,
yeah.
you know, exercise, and you get a student like Maddie, and she can just parlay all of that.
so you go to several different, you've gone to several different places, and you
Yes.
do that during this school day.
Yes.
And what's most fun? What's been the most fun? What's been the biggest, the highlight of it?
There's been so many different things that I've like enjoyed a lot, especially like making connections, like specifically with the younger engineers there, because I feel like I'm able to connect with them a lot easier than, let's say, like the ones that have been in there like 30 plus years.
There's a generational piece there.
Yeah, and definitely because I was able to ask 2 different entry-level engineers about what classes they had taken at UMaine, which is a school that I am
You're
probably
looking
going to
at?
end up at.
Okay, good engineering program, no
yeah.
doubt.
And so I got a lot of insight on that. I have like pages and pages of notes of things that I've learned throughout like each interview that I've done or what I've done shadowing, and like the different observations that I've had. I've gone through different PowerPoints where they're teaching new engineers about what Wright-Pierce is going to look like, and I've seen a bunch of those from different like branches of engineering, because they are water waste and civil engineering. So there's environmental kind of takes on that water section, and then civil takes on the bridges and different like land-based engineering. And like I said, like I have pages and pages of notes of just things that I've learned, I find interesting, and it's the highlight of my day, definitely. Like when I get to go out and just get off of school campus and then end up at an office, like it doesn't look very interesting when you get there. Like, yeah, it's like cubicles and you go down into a basement and you're with a whole bunch of people side by side, but then you have someone who's so passionate about their career and they just like go on like nerd sprees about what they've done with their career and how they've like shaped that in Wright-Pierce. I found it so fascinating.
Oh, that's cool.
So
You know, it's really, both of these examples are just a testament, right? Rick, we're similar age, but never had that opportunity, right? I didn't, I'll speak for myself, sorry. Never had that opportunity to explore and see what was out there. It was more or less a dartboard approach. That's my words, no one else's, and I don't want to, where I came from, but it was literally just a dartboard.
Right.
But look at, I mean, these are two examples of where students can go, and I know there's probably many, many others, but to go and just try something out there and, yeah, I like this, I don't like this, or I like about this. For instance, Maddie was talking about, maybe I like, civil engineering more than environmental or whatnot.
Right. One of the great things about getting older is the fact that you can see, and especially if you've been in the same district, I've seen a really nice evolution of more opportunities for students. You know, the addition of Bonnie at the junior high school, really augmenting kind of like that culture, that feeder system that works into, what we do up here is awesome. And we have more and more pathway opportunities like ELOs here at the high school to earn credit.
That's awesome. Back to you guys. You're both, I'd like to hear your thinking post-secondary, both of you, Marine or maybe something field. Just to kind of highlight that again, because I think it's, what I'm trying to get at here is I want our listeners, and maybe a student will listen to this and be like, oh, I'm interested, but what's, I don't know if I'm not asking this question right, but the hook, like why the green crabs? What was it that kind of was like, I want to be outdoors, or what was it that made you do that? I think the question's coming to you too, Maddie, and I think I know your answer, but I don't know that from you guys. Like why, I know Mr. McCullough recommended or had an idea, but why did you guys jump on it? Like what was it really?
Yeah. And outside of the classroom
Okay.
and hands-on classwork. And I don't know, I like getting like various different results, I'd say.
Okay.
Just not having the same repetitiveness to a task or something.
Yeah.
And that's why science, I think, intrigues me, because experiments, you don't really know what's the outcome's
That's a
gonna
good
be,
point.
So.
Can it fair to say, and Garrett, I'll ask maybe this question to you, and you can answer that one too, but I'm thinking it's also the working with a friend that has
Yeah.
something to do with it. I mean, I don't know for you, I'm picking up on your vibe here, that's part of that, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but is that some of that? Like, hey, we're going to go do this outdoor, we're going to work with our,
Yeah, for sure, definitely. It's I don't know. I think it'd be pretty boring to be out there on your own, just digging up crabs. But it's just not only about crabbing. Just making fun memories out on the flats.
yeah, that's what I was wondering, right? Because it's probably part of that, right? It's kind of fun being together, doing something like that, meaningful. Maddie, same, I think I know the answer, but in engineering, right?
yeah, I mean, like definitely STEM-based learning was my like interest. So, and taking those surveys, and definitely the one that Mr. Wilson provides, I think it took me like 20 minutes to fill out, and it came out with nuclear and civil engineering. So it just happened to be that I hit the mark when I took that survey, and it just, everything aligned. So
Rick, what haven't I asked that you want to make sure our listeners listen to, or not listen to, but understand about this? And
Well, we have a lot of things going on simultaneously in our office that involve, work-based learning connections, job placement, curriculum support. One of my favorite parts of what we do out of our office is working with Molly to provide curriculum support, like with the climate study that we did with the town.
Yeah.
That started with an email from you, and it transcended into 100 people in Crooker Theater, 100 students taking part in that action.
that's a great example.
And Miss Vanna's health summit that took place over at Parkview, helping
Incredible
her organize that. And so there are many elements to the work that we do, and we enjoy all of it. because you can already tell the sense of self that's been cultivated by these, little experiences has been huge. And for the rest of their lives, Maddie's going to drive across that bridge, that new bridge, and think about the old bridge, and thinking about, her work at Wright-Pierce and Reed. And these guys are going to drive by McQuaid Bay for the rest of their lives and think of that place as a special place.
That's great. That's a great point. I'm proud of a ton of things in Brunswick, but the work you all are doing, and Rick, you and Molly and Bonnie and many others, but I think that's something that I hope the community hears loud and clear as we go through this, cycle of budget and what works and what doesn't. We got grant. We're very lucky to get the grant, but this is clearly a position or positions that have such a meaningful impact on our students, personally, right? The friendship aspect, social, emotionally, but also academically. You build all those skills that you're going to use for the rest of your lives beyond the, within these four walls. So I appreciate you taking the time, and it's been great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having
Thank
us.
you very much.
Thanks. Hey, thank you for listening to the Brunswick Buzz. The Brunswick Buzz is available wherever you find your podcast.